Okay, so far we were able to cover a lot of different uses for VLOOKUP function. We also did cover index match as an alternative for VLOOKUP, and we did cover a case when we could use index and match to do something that VLOOKUP was not able to do out of the box. So an example of that was when we were looking for a stock item in this column and we were returning something that was located to the left at it. And we've tried to build this index and match to retrieve that value. If you don't know how it works, go back and watch index and match video. But in this video we'll be covering another function that can get a similar outcome as VLOOKUP, and that function will be query function. Now query function will be only covering as a substitute for VLOOKUP. The function itself has a lot of different options and it will need probably its own series of videos to cover everything about it. This one will be short, just about how to use it, similar to getting the same thing as VLOOKUP does. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll keep this one and I'll go ahead and copy this value and paste it over here. And the first thing I'm going to do is try to show you how to use a basic query function to retrieve the same value as we have over here. So again, I'm going to start with the equal sign and start with y function name and this function. The first thing we'll need to pick is the data. So the data is going to be the entire table in this case. Again, we should usually lock this tables for good practice, comma. So the next thing is the string that we use to run a query. Now if you are somebody who has some experience with SQL servers, SQL language, you will definitely know what's going on here right away. If you're not, it's probably not going to be as familiar to you. So the first thing I'm going to do now, provide the string, which is going to be our lookup string. So it has to be as text, which means I'm going to do a quote and then I will start with my select. That means we're going to select. The first thing we'll have to do is to select what we need returned as an end result. So in this case, I'm going to retrieve the product name. So these product names that are over here. So if I look on top, it's in our B column. So what I'm going to say is select B. So I'm going to say let's select the column B as an end result. So the next thing I'll have to do is to say in which cases to select the column B. So that's going to be the where statement. So we're going to say where. So where what? So we're going to check in our C column if it equals to the stock number that we have or not. So I'm going to say where C equals to, and then I'm going to go with the single quotation signs. And for now I'll just type the item number right here, right? 3046-899-903 and another single quotation to close that. So I'm going to say select the column B where C equals to this. And I'm going to do another one, which is the limit argument, to make it like a VLOOKUP. So I'm going to do limit 1. So we want just one instance of it. And you'll see what this limit does in just a little bit. If you don't understand it yet, that's fine. Just go with it for now. So limit 1. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's going to be my string. And comma, and finally the last argument is headers. So if your data has headers on top, like in this case we have product name, stock number, type, price, cost. And when you are highlighting your data, you've included that in your data that you want to say how many rows your data takes. So if I did highlight starting from this B2 cell and going down, I would have done one row here as my headers. But right now I didn't really select it, so I'm going to say 0 as headers that I have. I'm going to do this and close my parentheses. Now let's hit enter and see what we get. And you can see that I'm getting exactly the same thing as we have on top. Now the thing here is that let's say we want to switch to a different item. So I'm going to copy this one. Let's do this one. Copy this. I'm going to paste here. You can see how our index match updates right away. I'm going to paste it over here too. And this doesn't update. So the reason it doesn't update is because I went here and manually hard-coded this number in. It's not referring to the cell to see what's in there. So what I will have to do is very carefully make this a little more dynamic. And what that means, we'll have to create this concatenated string. And the way I'm going to do that, I will go ahead and highlight and delete this item number. Not deleting the single quotes, we'll need those. So I'm going to do the double quote to indicate that this is where just a part of my string ends. I'm going to do a couple of spaces here, another quote here. That's the second part of it. So we're on one part on the right. we have another part on the left. And in the middle we're going to need the actual stuck number. And the way we're going to do that, we'll use an ampersand or the end sign here. And then it will type the cell that we have. So B21, that's the cell. And then I concatenate again another end sign to join it with the rest of the string. So as a result, and again I'm doing some extra spaces here. You don't really need to do those spaces. But if you do, it's not going to matter. It will work. So what I'm doing, I'm saying let's take this part of the string, which is going to be C equals to the single apostrophe. And then grab what's in the cell B21, which is going to be this stuck number. And then the remaining part of the string goes after that. So let's hit enter. And now you can see that it works. And now if we copy another value and we change, you can see it updates just the same way as our index and match does. And you can see that this works exactly the same way as index and match did. So I'm searching in this column. But I'm retrieving from the column to the left, which is kind of nice. But I could really use it as VLOOKUP and retrieve from any other column. So I could still look up in this column, but return the price. So the price is in column E. Right. So instead of selecting B, I can select E as a result. And now we should get the price. So if we check for 903, the price should be there. It is $100. So that works. Now what's the advantage of using something like this? Right. Now the real advantage is when you have multiple items that are going to return to be returned. So what I mean by that, let me do this. Let me take this 903 item. And there's one here which is Nike Free Connect. And let's make this something that makes more sense, because these items are kind of the same stock code in one way or another. So I'm going to paste this. Now we have a situation when the item repeats the stock number. So if we go ahead and paste this here, now you'll see that what we're going to do here is just retrieve the first item, which is what index match or VLOOKUP will do. So if you remember, when we're covering those functions, I said that index and match or VLOOKUP will only find the first instance on top, return that and ignore the second or the third instance. So this is where query function will shine, that you can make it to work in a way that it will return the other instances as well. So first of all, let's change this back to column B as a return column. So we can see it gets the same thing. What I want to do is make this work that it will also return the second and the third match. And this is where the reason it doesn't return right now is because I did limit one. So I'm saying limit to one item only. Now if I do limit 2, you will see that now I'm returning 2. And again, this one is just this one, which is our index and match. It's nothing to do with this one on top. So at this point, hopefully, you understand what's going on. So I'm just going to clear it. So it's not getting any more confusing. So we have 2 items. So we get the first one and the second one. Now if we change this to limit, let's say 10, we only have 3. So it's going to return all those 3. So now we can actually look it up. And return all the matches instead of just returning the first match. That's on top. Now what you could do, you don't even really need this limit statement. So if I take the limit 10 and just remove it, I still do need that apostrophe there though. So I'm going to do that. So you can see now it just retrieves all of them. So now it's just going to retrieve, if we had 200 matches for the stock item, it would return all of them. Now if you want to limit and say, let's retrieve only up to 50, then you will need that extra limit argument here in the end to actually limit that many. So there it is. That's our query function, which can work like VLOOKUP but return multiple values instead of just returning just one. Hopefully that makes sense and you found it useful, and we'll see you in our next video.